Are you noticing changes in our country you find troubling? Do you feel unsafe and at a loss to remedy these fundamental shifts? Have you found the book Go Free by Jason Kuna? The Go Free method provides excellent meme curatives and specific language skills to overcome the anti-white psychological warfare being waged against us across the West. Go Free, a guide to aligning with the archetype of Western kind, by Jason Kuna, available on Amazon.
Okay, that should start us. Good afternoon, Janitor of White Noir. Good to see you. Hope you are well. Good afternoon, Benjamin and Grace Smith. Good to see all of you. Would you like a microphone, Miss Grace? All right, I threw out some mic invites. Otherwise, it looks like it might be a very quick and quiet space today. It's just me talking into the nethers. But anyhow, while we see who else shows up, we got Mr. Blue Flame. Good to see you. Let me get you set up with a mic. That should be on its way to you, and we'll get you dialed in. All right, I guess I'll get the intro going. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Shade Tree White Wellbeing NWG Space. We hold this space every day at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on X. We are a no white guilt community that meets to practice the concepts and lexicon developed by my friend Jason Kuna, Mr. No White Guilt. You can find him here on X as at No White Guilt NWG. On YouTube and elsewhere is simply No White Guilt, and on the web at nowhiteguilt.org. We discuss a wide variety of topics of interest to white people everywhere and look for ways to apply solutions. I'm the Tree Godfather, your host, and my co-host today is going to be Mr. Hans. As soon as I get him set up, we do run pretty casual here, but I do ask that you raise your hand if you'd like to jump in. Otherwise, I just call on people in turn for their thoughts. If you would like to hop into the conversation, just request a mic. We'll get you set up. We only ask that you comport yourself as much as possible to the Go Free lexicon, and please act like a proper lady or gentleman of the West, whichever applies. And yes, it is only a 50-50 choice. That's how we roll here. We don't play that 10,000 genders crap. Good afternoon, Hans. How are you?
Um, you're jumping me. I'm fine, thank you.
And good afternoon, janitor of White Noir. How are you, little brother? No audio, janitor.
Hello, user error always on my end. I'm doing great. I saw some of the responses I got about the things we were talking about last night in the comments I shared in there, and that was all motivating and inspiring and stuff.
Yeah, I thought the comments were pretty positive. Like I said, I was impressed, to be honest, brother. And I never would have thought to make a little system like you did. And again, perhaps we can take a deep dive into that. Mr. Blue Flame, how are you today?
I'm all right. If my voice is a bit gone, I had a day of dehydration behind me, and I'm kind of catching up right now. So I may sound a bit off still at the moment, but I'm good. I'm good. Um, and maybe real quickly, Grace, I appreciate that you let me know yesterday, but I simply couldn't make it to the other space. So yeah, another day, another time if it is done again. How about yourself, Tree Father?
Oh, it's been a hell of a day for me. So I was supposed to have an MRI this morning, part of my diagnosis path with the stroke. And apparently, they don't have a man-sized machine there. My broad shoulders wouldn't make it into the machine, and so I ended up not getting the MRI, which was kind of annoying because, of course, the time to do it and rushing back here to get back to this space. If I sound unprepared today, it's because I am, and I'm sure you guys won't mind too much because, well, that's kind of how we roll anyway. But yeah, so it's been an interesting day for sure. Good afternoon, AAA. Good to see you. Ivan the Horrible is here, and our friends Yield Europeans. Good to see all of you. We are live on YouTube and Twitch, and hello to everybody over there. Let me get. Let's see. I is over there. He's the first commenter, and we have several watching now. So, as customary, we have a Westman of the day today that I've already got up in the Jumbotron to the right. And as usual, I'm lazy. I grab the wiki link because sometimes it's the easiest, but accurate enough for what we're doing. And I'm okay with that. I says extra shade was a beautiful stream. So take note of that, Miss Grace. And thank you, Mr. I. But anyhow, I picked Louis L'Amour. Um, Now it's kind of interesting because I've read many of his books and I enjoyed them very much. I can't name a single one. I can't outline any of the books in particular, but I just remember that I had read like 8 or 9 of his books and absolutely enjoyed him as an author. He was one of 2 authors well, 3 really that I actually enjoyed. And if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and read from his Wikipedia entry. Louis Dearborn L'Amour, he was born in 1908 and lived until 1988, was an American novelist and short story writer. His books consisted primarily of Western novels. Those were the ones that I'm familiar with and enjoyed, though he called his work frontier stories. His most widely known Western fiction works include Last of the Breed, which I do remember, Hondo, Shalako, and the Sackett series. Some of those I remember. L'Amour also wrote historical fiction. The Walking Drum, science fiction, as in The Haunted Mesa, nonfiction, and poetry short story collections. Many of his stories were made into films, Hondo being one of them, if I remember right. His books remain popular, and most have gone through multiple printings. At the time of his death, almost all of his 105 existing works, 89 novels, 14 short story collections, and two full length works of nonfictions were still in print. He was considered one of the world's most popular writers, and indeed he was. I remember even back in the 70s and 80s, he was very, very popular. So he was born in Jamestown, North Dakota, the seventh child of Emily Dearborn and veterinarian, local politician, and farm equipment broker Louis Charles Lamore. So I thought that that was very interesting. So he grew up kind of out in the frontier land, and I think that's where he got most of his inspiration. But we'll pause there, and we'll go first to Mr. Janitor of White Noir.
Jamestown, North Dakota, or South, whatever, but Dakota, Jamestown. There's a the largest buffalo statue there. It's made of like, I don't know, ceramic or something. I mean, not ceramic, like concrete. Oh yeah, concrete. And the thing is, you go to the buffalo. It's really big statue, and you touch his nose, and that's for good luck. And there's a frontier. I mean, there's a replica frontier town with a blacksmith, jail, saloon. There's a bunch. There's a bunch of these dollar bills there too. They're like the $1,000 bill, and I mean they're all there in glass, and they're not behind uh, reinforced bars or whatever.
Very interesting. I know I've actually heard of that. Now, I've never actually been there, but I actually have heard of that. My friend, Mr. Hans.
I started reading at an early age. It was 9. I started reading my first books at 9, and I remember the person working at the library wouldn't let me read the books for adults, so I had to use sneaky ways to get the adult books. But I remember my first book as a gift was my nephew, who gave me a book from Louis L'Amour um, for Christmas. So it was my first book from Louis L'Amour was not a cowboy book. It was an investigative reporter. The book's title, I'm translating now because it was a translated book, was Message from the Grave, and I'm not finding that title, so probably the title was something else in English. But it was this book about this investigative reporter who goes to investigate the murder, and then the murderer gets him and almost murders him. So yes, anyone who knows that title in English, please tell me. But that was my first. So well written, because you would get the idea that this is pulp fiction because it's so, the catalog of works that he created is so large that he just cranked it out. But that book still today, I read it again when I was an adult. It's so well written, incredible author, very good choice. I love this guy.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the things that really endeared him to me. Um, I like authors that have a writing style that draws you in and puts you in the story, that suspension of reality, and you totally lose yourself in the book. You are the character. You are seeing what they're seeing. you're feeling what they're feeling. And with his books, I really felt that. And of course, this is at a time when, you know, uh, Hollywood was very big with Western movies. Clint Eastwood was huge, huge on the screen, on the big screen. And all the Western movies that he did, Charles Bronson was in Westerns, so the entire genre was just insane. And I absolutely loved it. I could picture myself on the range, on a horse, with a Winchester in my saddle, and a Colt on my hip, cowboy hat on top, and which is ironic because that's actually what I wear now, is the Western style hat. Um, so totally, totally right into up my alley, Mr. Janitor of White Noir.
My mother, dearest, taught me to read young age. Um, so in if you were here last night, you would hear that I was in the dictionary looking for the word anti-white. Whether or not I found it, I don't remember. But that was in fourth grade, which would be 10 years old. So before that, I had read a lot of novels and ones where the guy's the hero, and I would like pretend it's like me and my sister or something. If there was a sidekick, yeah. But yeah, it was like so I did say middle school yesterday, but it was actually fourth grade. Yeah, fourth grade.
And that brings up, Janitor, too, that kids who read books and not just play with internet all day, but kids who read good books turn out to be very literate in older life, of course. I don't think that can be underestimated how important that is. Because I realized, Facebook, Twitter, there's kind of a shorthand, less formal writing style. But you can always tell people who read a lot of books because they're so much more literate, with their spelling, their punctuation, their grammar usage. It really makes a difference. And it really, I think, boosts your IQ um, to a very real degree, even if it's not scientific works, even if it's just fiction. I think it makes your connects neural pathways that make you think outside the box, as it were. So, excellent point to bring up. And like I said, I absolutely enjoyed. He was one of my three favorite authors, two of which we're going to cover on the Shade Tree. The third one has turned out to be a quite very anti-white, and I just don't feel like honoring him. But Lou Moore, absolute stud of a Westman in terms of authorship. And Mr. Blue Flame, I would like to hear your thoughts if you are familiar with Mr. Louis Moore.
Actually, I'm not. This I do not even really think I've ever even heard this name. It's again another show of how a lot of great men, their names are gradually erased from the pages and pushed into the shadows, right? So it's appreciated that you bring them up, and let's as opposed to the best of our ability, let's put some flowers on the graves of these greats, as well as him, of course.
I myself am not very insulted that you don't know who he is, because it's very much most of his most famous works, of course, were very American. Uh, our Western frontier here in the U.S. And I don't think would have, maybe they might not have even interested many in Europe. So no insult taken. But again, I wanted to honor him because I thought that, we have so many great authors, great Westmen who are authors, and of course, not just Americans. many English writers, French writers, all across Europe. You know, we are Western kind. We have our own great works. We hear about the ancient works in the Library of Alexandria, but we have many of those same kind of people in much more recent history that are also worth celebrating. Mr. Hans.
You're letting him off the hook easy. That's not good. It's a Western. Who didn't play Cowboys and Indians when he was? Come on.
Nowadays, we can play Westman and anti-whites. No takers on that one, huh? Mr. Hans, do you have anything further on this?
Look, I'm so deeply disappointed because I recently overhauled my whole personal library and I cannot find that book. I can see it. I preserved it so well. You would think I bought that book yesterday and I can't find it. So yes, I'm looking now. There's a couple of books that I haven't sorted yet. So yes, I'm going to be deeply. This is. I'm very sentimental that first book of mine, and I can't find it. But if I do, I'll post. I'll post. How did I say? Post physique. I'm posting fiction.
Yeah, like I said, that was definitely one of my top three authors as a young man. Absolutely loved reading all his works. Like I said, it was a huge genre back then. You know, the whole cowboy thing. Um, we had Roy Rogers on TV, Tonto, Jay Silverheels. Yeah, Tonto, and then uh, Clayton Clayton Moore, I think, was the Lone Ranger. Hmm. I'll have to go back and look that one up. Hans?
My mother, her favorite character was Hopalong Cassidy, and she's a woman. Come on, how can um, I'm going to write Blue Flame for the next year for this.
I like the Rifleman. That was a good one. Mr. Blue Flame.
Speaking about westerns, I mean, I guess the obvious one is, I suppose, a Clint Eastwood, and there's this other one. Why does this name elude me right now? It's like
John
this
Wayne.
John Wayne. Thank you. I mean, I know about these guys. I know of some, I guess, a historical figure like Wyatt Earp. It's like these guys, sure. I mean, but yeah, like some are prone to slip through the nets, I suppose. What can I say? Oh, and if who else? Buffalo Bill. You know, what is that? William Cody? Is that his real name? These guys. I know about them a little bit.
Annie Oakley. Go ahead, janitor.
I um watched the movie of the OK Corral, and I don't like the one that's in the popular one, because there was one I think before that with the guy who narrates American Greed, and he played a really good actor in a few other shows. I mean, movies and shows. Uh, one show I liked was a Pulp Fiction kind of show, and it was really like uh, rousing, and um, it was detective. And another one he did where he was in the British Raj. What's his name? I don't know. And he played another OK Carl Wyatt Earp, I think is that guy. Um, and I was thinking, I don't like most of those other actors, anyways. Like the Clint Eastwood or I mean I like the film history from John Wayne. I mean not where he starred, but actually his uh movies that he directed. Except he kind of takes the whole industry by a few films because they went in super like hundreds of millions with worth of budget, but they didn't sell anything. The last thing that his franchise or film company ended with was Heaven's Gate. That movie was super good. It was these guys from Yale, a fraternity, really rich investors, went out to the Mountain West, and I mean that was a really good movie. But I was thinking, how Tree Godfather was saying how reading, especially Julie is a great reader, and how I use that reading skill in my what are they called, white papers. I mean, I don't write any, but I always read them and learn about the differences between people and oh, how I was actually one of those white. I mean, I use them mainly for my uh family, not my family, but like just my personality and my nature is to do that since I learn about differences, stuff like that, because you analyze graphs and whatever, and you got to read like the whole thing underneath it, or at least you got to actually another thing is you have to look for like I mean you don't want to read the whole thing, you want to go find what you want inside of the paper because a lot of it's just not relevant. You can go to that conclusion, sure, but I mean, that's important because it's not like they teach you in school. I mean, they kind of, and I'm not, I mean, not at my school, but even if they did, they was just going to be with material that you're not interested in or not relevant. Like one of the white papers I brought up to my family, because that's what I like to do, is uh, the development of language and how when you learn uh, like specific things from your mother about language and father about language. It slipped me right now, but it's about like and I saw this happen in my family. Like my dad, he knew a bunch of the synonyms and stuff and other things like math or whatever. But my mom like knew just like words that I did like new I mean, I'm not saying that right, but it's always interesting to use my reading skills to research.
I comments. True Grit and Pilgrim's Progress. And let's not forget the Cartwrights. Mr. Hans.
I had an experience when I was 9 or 10. It was there was a book in the library, in the school library, and I wasn't allowed to read it because they grade it by age, and I was too young for that book. It was a book by Alistair MacLean, but it was translated in Afrikaans, and at some point I did get, because sometimes it's not an adult, it's a child that minds the library. So I did get the access to the book, and it was um, it was this feeling where I'm just not smart enough to understand what's going on in this book. I would read and then I would lose the plot, and then I would go backwards and then catch the story. But it was so frustrating to read that book. It was just like I had a distinct feeling that um, I'm just not smart enough for this book. And because it was such an emotional experience, I remembered that. I remember the frustration about just being, you know, my mind is just too small for this book. Years later, I'm an adult. I borrow a book from a coworker, Ice Station Zebra from Alistair MacLean. Now, remember the book that I tried to read was Afrikaans. It had another title, Dryfijs, which means drift ice in English. So I'm reading this book and I have this eerie feeling of just unsettling as I read this book. And I couldn't understand why. And there was one scene in the book where the submarine, the tower of the submarine breaks through the ice. And that's a scene that I remembered from when I was 9 years old. And then it came all back to me that this is the book that I tried to read and I was just not smart enough.
It's funny you mentioned that. So, I was scrolling YouTube a couple nights ago, and the movie adaptation of Ice Station Zebra just came up on YouTube as a free watch. So I have it in my watch list, and I'm probably going to be watching that later, either tonight or tomorrow. I remember seeing that a long time ago when it came out, and I haven't seen it in forever. So that'll be on. That's on my watch list. And if it's anything you're interested in on YouTube, there's a lot of movies since the scamdemic. If nothing else, at least a lot of movies have become free on YouTube. You can free to watch, which is really got to be putting a hurt on Netflix and Amazon and all them because, of course, they charge money. But as I said, I don't own a TV, but I'll sit here and I'll watch an entire movie on my phone. I don't care. Miss Julia, good afternoon and good to see you. We were discussing our Westman of the day, Louis L'Amour. Are you familiar with him?
I am. He's an author, but I haven't read him. And otherwise, I'm having a good day.
So we have two we can pick on who aren't familiar with Louis L'Amour. Duly noted, Mr. Hans.
She gets a pass. Louis L'Amour is not meant for women.
We don't give anybody a pass. But yeah, it's definitely more of a boys' genre. All right. Well, Invictus is here. Good to see you. Papa J. The Ivan Horrible is here. And no, we're not running anywhere. We had a couple of comments. Let's see. Robert wrote, "Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. All for white well-being." Thank you, Robert. And Grace is at work and unable to grab a microphone. So that means we can pick on Grace all we want and she can't fight back. So second up in the Jumbotron, you can see I did a great job picking topics today. But we'll go to Ms. Julia first. Go ahead, Julia. No audio. I'll let you get sorted out while we'll get into this second topic here. There's a letter from the White House account from President Trump. He sent it to America's newest citizens. And I saw this, it kind of irritated me, as many things do. He says, "Dear fellow American, on behalf of my administration and the American people, congratulations on becoming a citizen of our great and glorious nation. America has always welcomed those who embrace our values, assimilate into our society, and pledge allegiance to our country. By taking this oath, you have forged a sacred bond with our nation, her traditions, her history, her culture, and her values. This rich heritage is now yours to protect, promote, and passed down to the next generation. Our history is now your history. Our customs are now, I can't do this, are now your customs. And our Constitution is now yours to safeguard, honor, and respect. The United States is now your homeland, and you can stand as part of one nation under God. You have pledged your heart to America, and in return, she offers the boundless promise of freedom and opportunity. And I'll puke if I keep reading. That is such a load of horse shit, as we have discussed many times. We know that there's no such thing as assimilation. Uh, and I read that, and of course, this was addressed to all the new Americans who are here, who of course will not adopt our culture, our heritage, our customs, and our values, but will absolutely gain numerical courage and express their customs and history and culture as they have been doing now for quite some time. But you know, the anybody can be American if you feel like you're an American attitude. This is one of those anti-white things from Mr. Trump that we've discussed in it. I find so irritating. Mr. Hans, your thoughts on that?
Um, yes, this is not the if he was serious about deporting 20 million, this is definitely not the time to put something like this out. So clearly, that's not going to happen. It's not going to accelerate. This is Trump saying, make peace with the fact that these people are going to come in. Oh yes, but of course, he's smoothing over. He's um, um, how do you say? He's defaulting on the American people and he's smoothing it over. He says, look, I'm not going to do it, but it's not that bad because all the new non-whites that come in, they're going to read this excellent piece of prose that I paid a lot of money for, and they are going to transform the magic in these words are going to transform them into white people. So don't worry. Everything's fine. Every patriots are in charge.
Well, America is just an idea. It's not a people. So anybody can be an American as long as they feel that way, apparently. It's also anti-white. It's also insulting to all of us, especially in this community, because we know that it just doesn't work that way. Good afternoon, New Hampshire Patriot. If you'd like, I'll throw you a mic. I'm sure this is a subject you are very fond of. Mr. Blue Flame, your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I've kind of spoken to it before already, and I'm only gonna repeat myself. It's also the problem of we don't have a people, so anyone can simply walk all over us. And if you have leaders who want to do right by us, well, what is a leader without his following in that sense, right? What's a platoon commander without his platoon? What is what do you call that? What's a sheriff without his deputies, or what is that called? Without his police officers, etc., etc., etc. You can have the best man with the most excellent leader skill sets. You can have the most charismatic speakers, the most ballsy, roughnecks that you can find. But if yeah, if everyone is simply, or the majority of whites remain these individualistic, well, that is to say, selfishly individualistic types who are only interested in their personal comfort, their their personal wealth, and oh well, maybe they'll do something for the kids. So long as it's this sort of misery, what are these greats, supposed to do? So in that sense, with men like President Trump, I get the sense that he's also just kind of rowing with the oars that he has. And well, can you blame him? There's no white group ready to be led by him. There simply isn't. And that forces his hand in many ways as well, even if he would want to do it. And the same goes for so many others. You know, uh, because I have real difficulty believing that he has actual malice towards us in his head or his heart. I don't think that at all. I think he does want to do right. Now you could say that because he is his generation has somewhat of a let's say a big part of them have an enormous anti-white reputation about them, and they never had. They don't even realize the pathogens that they have either. So does that play a role in it? Of course it does. But that again goes for almost everyone, including the ones who are healing, right? So yeah, I he's not outright doing what so many of these anti-whites who are contaminating public office do, which is like supporting some non-white nation and who knows or who cares where. Uh, not necessarily. Like the focus is, I suppose, a sort of a SIFNAT interpretation of what patriotism is. Uh, yeah, what are we to do if the majority of whites just keep being these self-serving fools? Um, yeah, that is where we come in, right? And I think that we know that his family, his sons, have heard of the stuff that we do. Uh, so maybe like Trump Jr., I believe. Didn't he say something like? Didn't he catch like what, for example, Ivan brought to him and some others, right? And good on you guys, by the way. Um, well, if they're talking about these things over the dinner table, let's say that President Trump agrees, and then he looks at the situation outside and is like just throwing up his hands and says, I can only protect these fools in only so far, because they won't let me do the right thing because they just all, or so many of them, the moment I start speaking about our well-being, they get upset. They start getting difficult. They get stubborn. Um, they refuse to even help themselves. It's that bad in many ways, and we see that every day, like with Mr. Kirk's murder. Now there are so many of these groups out there who are lay, uh, trying to co-opt that tragedy for their personal group interests or personal interests or whatever. It's disgusting, and like nobody here has even thought about doing that. And then look at who gets the least attention. So yeah, I mean I can keep going on about this forever. I do not want to condemn the man. I think I understand that the situation is just god awful, and it's only so much of a pity as that. Um, maybe I'll add one little thing to this is also maybe white well-being hasn't really broken into those what's the word I'm looking into those circles, right? simply because they might be aware of us, but they can't even apply it. And I think, Grace, I would really like your thoughts on it because you're so close to that, and you've already shared some of your thoughts on that, and um, yeah, it's. I'm pretty damn certain that we are far more well known than anyone who does know us would dare to admit, because they will probably lose their job, their position, whatever it's gonna be, and yeah, two hands tied on their back. But with them gone, an anti-white is gonna take their place, so it's still the better option. We really need some sort of societal breakthrough where it doesn't even need to be half of us. It simply needs to be a very sturdy percentage of the population that fully stands for white well-being, and from there we will take it home. It doesn't even need to be everyone. It needs to be enough. Still speaking of a few million people, and from there you can build. Now you have a base. Uh, now you have people who will raise a hero on a shield, so to speak. That's what I was speaking to yesterday, and yeah. uh, the reality is that it is very difficult even for the men who want to do that. It's not as easy as simply going in there and using the lexicon, I believe, in those circles. And yeah, what can you do, right? Like I do not have the experience of that, but others. Well, yeah. Anyways, there are others who want to speak, so I'll leave it here. Yeah, it's not as simple as it looks. Absolutely not.
Good afternoon, Nameless. Good to see you. I think it has a little extra sting after seeing the Happy Horse shit in London with Tommy Robinson. Uh, I got to tell you, I'm still pretty miffed. For all the reasons that we've already discussed and that Jason mentioned in the stream, which is why I had made that post that he had mentioned in the stream. You know, people look up to guys like Tommy Robinson as he's going to save England for the white people. And that's clearly not the case when you have curry sellers and selling falafel, and you spend 30,000 pounds expanding the stage so you can have haka dancers. These guys who are, and no offense to their culture, but it's not our culture. It's not of our biospirit. That's not England. That's not the England I remember. I'm old enough to remember what England was. And to see that really pushed my buttons. And I got to be honest, I'm still um, affected by Irina Zarutska. She's an immigrant that came here legally, and we see what happened to her absolutely brutal murder at the hands of that anti-white piece of shit. And how would she take that letter if she could read it now and say, well, here's the welcome I got? uh you know I don't know, I'm probably rambling. Mr. Hans, I'll go to you.
Not all mandates are written into your platform. Not all mandates are communicated by your by Catherine Levitt. That knife plunging into the neck of Irina was a mandate. The blood jetting out of Charlie's neck was a mandate. we're waiting for big moves now. So unless this is a subterfuge, and he's going to do something like dropping the 82nd Airborne on the Mexican border, declaring war against the drug cartels, and pledging deporting 20 million people, he is he got a second chance. The first one was when he was almost killed. He's got the mandate. He's got the strongest mandate anyone can wish for to do what he needs to do. So no excuse, absolutely no excuse. MAGA will back him. They will roll over. Look at how the Democrats and the anti-white media is reacting. They are cowed because any one of them that sticks their neck out, it gets an extreme reaction. People are ready. And I don't mean ready to go play acting some cardboard violence. I mean, they're ready to go to war for Trump. And he's pulling this stuff. I hope there's more behind it, because he absolutely has a mandate. Everyone is waiting for the big move. So I hope it's coming.
Janitor?
I think Caroline Levitt, her recent broadcast or something interview, she was talking about hate speech and associating it with Charlie Kirk, and then I saw a lot of the right side or whatever say like, "Oh, we disagree," and I think that's about as much as they're gonna get out of this entire like month. Also, I think what's her name? Zarutska. Um, that was a hush crime, right? And when I was learning about Go Free from the live streams and watching them just from Jason and the recordings of them, all I would do is I would go. I mean, there's this PDF on the website of of No White Guilt, and it has all the Go Free words in like different languages. So I just downloaded them and then tried to recite them in my head and use them and apply them to everything. And so that was about the first time I used anti-Whiteism with my family. The next time I used another Go Free meme curative with my family was I think Hate Hoax and Hush Crime. And the way I did it was after I found X and Hans's his tweets, and I bookmarked or read and liked and interacted with a bunch of the posts that were saying hate hoax or hush crime. That's the only question. And so thank you, Hans, for all those posts, because that was not only did that work with my family, even though I didn't know how to use it before I found your use of the method and using it on X. But I used it with my family. I mean, hush crime or hate hoax, that's the only question. That was a really powerful thing. And it was I used it during one of the news 6 p.m. news o'clock things. And it was about a hate hoax, and then the next thing was about a hush crime or something, and it was like, that's always what it is. I mean, not always, especially the more we spread Go Free and our community spreads Go Free. I mean, I'm not watching the news anymore, but when I was with my family, that was the perfect time to use it because, I mean, I think Caroline Levitt right now, if she wants to, say hate speech, but I mean, I only want her to say hate speech is anti-whiteism, then, but I know that's just the most we're going to get out of it and nothing more.
Go ahead, Hans.
Janitor, I just want to say it was a huge compliment to hear that you archived my posts, but it was more than a compliment because now that my account was nuked, it's nice to have that archive. So thank you very much. I appreciate it so much, and just the fact that to know that that you use some of my stuff, it means the return on investment of typing something is just so much higher. I see some of your posts do 10 times better than the one that I put out, and this is, I mean, this is so great. I love it. Thanks for doing that.
Hans, I have a whole lot of folders with bookmarks in them, and I have one called Gems, and these are responses from people in this community to particular posts that I found very poignant. And you make up a majority of the ones that were in my Gems folder because they're so brilliantly articulated. So every compliment you get, I consider yourself very worthy of. Flots is here. Good afternoon to you, brother. It's been a while. Hope you're well. I agree. Trump has a gigantic mandate, and he is in the process of failing that mandate, in my opinion. We're not going to deport 20 million people at the rate he's going. We need to deport over 100 million. There's between the ones that hop the border illegally and the stolen birthright citizenship and the sheer fraudulent applications for green cards that are here, probably close to a third of our population shouldn't be here. And these are the people, anti-white, one and all, that are absolutely shredding this country to absolute hell. The country that I served time in the military for, to protect and defend. So I love this country, but I know that this country is a creation of our biospirit. It should be a reflection of our biospirit. And half the country I don't even recognize anymore. I don't even, look at where I moved from in Texas was getting to be unrecognizable. That could have been Mogadishu for all I know. It was certainly wasn't the Texas that I had visited many times, as a younger man and even a young child. Totally unrecognizable. This letter is so insulting because they don't assimilate. They don't adopt anything here. And I'm not blaming them for that because why would they when it's not the creation of their biospirit? Why would they want this country to reflect something that it doesn't match their internal wiring? So I totally get it from their point of view. But I am moral to resist the erasure of my people, the erasure of my people's values and everything we've created. That's an opinion I'm not going to change anytime soon. I'll die first. Mr. Blue Flame.
Yeah. I'm no master on the topic. And I'm sick of seeing these endless affronts as well. But again, I mean, I only end up repeating myself. If whites do not, in a sufficient number, decide that we're gonna be a people, we're gonna act as a people, and anything that gets in the way of that is going to get called out and appropriately handled. Uh, yeah, what is anyone else to do? And as far as yeah, the president himself nearly getting murdered in the way that Mr. Kirk was murdered, in the way that Irina or Austin or and so many others, actually did lose their lives. Trauma, a lifelong trauma, uh, psychological scarring on our children, physical uh, harm done to our children in so many ways, and it's it's like yeah, well, I'm at a, I'm trying so hard to find the right words here without swearing my head off, but but it is you're we're stuck in this power play that is going on in the political world, and that power play is backed by peoples, by collectives, right? We understand this. So no matter how horrible something happens, is that the ones the groups who have the most leverage or whatever it's going to be. I'm not going to go in all the detail of it because what is the point? um they are simply the ones who get ahead of everyone else, and justice has nothing to do with it, as horrible as that is. Believe it, I find it as disgusting as anyone else does, but in that sense also I get it. you know I mean, like, look at it the other way. Like Trump's family, President Trump himself, the idea that he is just sitting, that he's leaning back about it, that he doesn't want to do anything. It's not for a lack of want. I don't believe that for a second that he wants to call it out, but what is going on in these circles? There is stuff happening there that we will never know. Absolutely not. Don't believe it for a second. We only get we only get the theater end of it, right? And of course, yeah, we get to live with the horror of the decisions that happen there, the anti-Whiteism, indeed. But yeah, in so many ways, I know I'm only repeating myself, but what else is there to be said? And I'm not saying that it's over or whatever, not at all. But it only shows the importance of the work that we do here, and it should instill in everyone who is, if you're new or you're only hearing about this just now, like, uh, guaranteed, in a certain sense an emergency call. One of the most powerful men on the planet cannot even get the justice of going after the anti-whites that tried to murder him. I mean, how much how many more alarm bells and red flags or whatever it is does one need to understand how deep in the manure we are in that sense? And I repeat again, it's not over. It simply means that white people and the non-whites who want to stand by us, we need to get our shit straight. We need to start living by the way of that you're not here only for yourself, you're also here for those next to you. Not only your family, not only your friend circle, the people you do not know, but who you understand are part of the maintainers of the West that we want, the West that we need to live. And, for shame on these fools who get in our way, who try to down talk us or what have you. They are, they're so deluded or whatever you could call that, even, that they do not even realize that they're shooting themselves in the foot. Like they think that they're shooting us in the foot, but no, it's themselves. Because by stopping us, by getting in our way, they contribute to the decay of society because we have the healing message. It's that simple. Yeah. Um, the focus is just to keep advocating and get as many active as possible. And it has to be, in truth, it had to be yesterday, but it can't be yesterday, so it has to be today. Read Go Free, talk to the people who have been advocating for years, and when you feel confident enough, deal with your own meme pathogens that you no doubt have, and from there, once you have sufficiently cleared up your mind, you have the curatives. You've integrated the curatives that will help you ahead in life. That will cure your mind. Then you can start helping reaching. Then you can help reach out for others. And also, as far as Juicebergs go, be brutal with them, I suppose, in the sense of they want us gone, and it needs to be understood is that no, they're going to fall in the pit that they're trying to dig for us. That must happen because their path, the misery that they want to spread on Jews or what have you, it will inevitably fall upon whites all the same. We know this. We know they do not care about us either, anyways. They see us as useful tools for, I don't know, their ideology or the miserable envy by which they live towards Jewish people. Uh, because we know they're always the ones that keep most whites from standing up for themselves too. But yeah, many of you already know this. Uh, I do not think I have much else to add to this at this point. I will only end up repeating myself, I suppose. It's not as straightforward of you get wronged, so now you get to now you get to pursue justice, not in the political sphere, and by extent, I mean look at all these court cases, if that's what you can even call them anymore. Like what a mess, an absolute mess. Um, yeah. The outreach that we do needs to continue, and it maybe also before I leave it for someone else to speak, Mr. Walsh, right? We see him, he wants to speak on behalf of us. He's actually a pretty good example, I think. We see he wants to talk on behalf of us, but because of who he works for, the anti-whites that he has to work for, I guess, or whatever you want to look at it as, they tell him to shut up about it. And what is he going to do? Is he going to face poverty? Is he going to lose his means of income? Maybe that's his only skill set. Maybe he absolutely loves what he does. All good on him. But is he to throw that away for the heap of individuals, selfish individuals, I should say, that should be a white people that stands by its own? Again, and I think he's one of the better examples in that regard. Now look at, the further up the totem pole you go, the more difficult that becomes. And again, that's why the immorality of anti-whiteism needs to be needs to go, and the morality that is white well-being has to return. Uh, that's the best I can give on that for now. And yeah, we are going to have to suffer more humiliations and more affronts the longer that whites keep fucking around, and the non-whites who want to stand by white well-being. Too many want to fuck around, and we're gonna find out. Uh, as awful as that is, because a lot of people do not deserve this, but and a lot of people also do not do the necessary work. You get what you work for, or you get what you don't in that sense. And I'll leave it here for now.
Fair enough. I want to read in some of the comments from. Here's one from Cool Papa J. Here, it's white people elected Trump with essentially a single mandate to get rid of the invaders. If he's facing unforeseen problems or being blocked by another party, then show us that you're trying rather than writing a love letter to them. Yeah. Papa, that really pretty much was my sentiments. Robert wrote, Blue Flame is right. Sometimes it is like asking our brother to drink railway rocks while spreading and using the concepts, and I'm speaking about vagues. But once you know Go Free is it is your obligation to say you have no choice. And Papa J also wrote, I don't even want them to assimilate. I want them to leave. Our countries aren't theirs, they're ours. To which Robert replied, 100%, enough of the abstractions about the Constitution being used to disinherit and displace us. Only time whites are talked about by politicians is to slander or celebrate our decline in numbers. They're all anti-white monsters. And I couldn't agree more. Um, a few minutes, we got a couple of hands I'm going to get to. And then Janitor, I'd like you to get a little bit more into that thing you were talking about last night. I thought that was just the absolute coolest thing, brother. And I do want to talk more about that. Julia, come on in.
Yeah, so I wanted to comment on Trump assassinations. Now, I did not watch the videos repeatedly or in any great detail. So, and I don't know much about the details of the guns used or the distances shot from or anything like that. But um, is it possible that the assassinations were false flag events, that they were ops essentially intended to make Trump look better, like a martyr, essentially?
I mean, anything's possible. I don't know that even Trump, as big as his ego is, would want to stand there and take a shot from even the best marksman in the world and bank on them just nicking him and not taking his head clean off. So I guess there is that.
Okay, that's a
Uh,
good point. Maybe someone else though who is pro Trump and uh yeah, I don't know. It's just an idea. I, I don't know if other people think it's crazy and very very unlikely, but I don't know. I am so disillusioned with politics in general that I just have very low trust um in anyone. So I don't know. Maybe Trump could do a lot more. Has the will, but I'm not even convinced of that, to be honest.
well, you bring up something kind of interesting, Julia, that a lot of the the moves that Trump makes that perhaps people assume are for our benefit aren't really necessarily for our benefit. Now, he would say, I bet Trump would say that he's getting rid of all the illegals because it harms the non-whites population of the U.S., which is something he actually did say about the drugs, that it was causing the most harm to the non-white community. Never mind, the white children that get up hooked on drugs and have their lives ruined and lost through overdose. But we don't want to see the non-whites harmed. That one really irritated me in an extreme way. Trump has, in the past, made much more clear statements in terms of white people. I wish that Trump would make a return. Mr. Hans?
Well, the first thing that I just want to say is from the decision. So because as you squeeze the trigger, you don't know exactly when the trigger is going to trigger, when the trigger is going to hit the the cartridge. Um, so there's a few hundred milliseconds either way, and Trump's head was very mobile. He was turning his head. At the point where the decision was made, it would have been a headshot, and then he turned his head. So and it clipped his ear. So there's no human way in my mind. Maybe machine intelligence will be able to react fast enough to clip your ear, but no sane president is going to agree to that kind of scheme because remember, there's a lot of different opposing forces in around Trump, and that's just too much, too many opportunities for those who really want to get him to make a small mistake and get him. So no, I don't believe there's even the slightest chance that this was arranged to be a missed shot. It is what it is what it looks like, and what it looks like is it's one of these crazies created by the anti-white media and the Secret Service just doing a slack job because they want Trump dead with plausible deniability. So they didn't there was no conniving, but as Jason says, there was colluding because they were just hands off and hope for the best. And the best in their minds was Trump dies, and it doesn't matter how it happens. So no, it wasn't conniving, or it wasn't arranged in that sense. It was some crazy and crooks. The reason why we know nothing about crooks, just like that trans murderer of the white children, the stuff that they have on him is absolutely going to detonate the anti-white narrative. That's why we know nothing about him. Um, but I wanted to preempt janitor because I have a funny story about janitor, and that was I contacted him earlier today about the archive that he has, and and but I created my new account on a new browser that I didn't know very well. So I was in a I'm lead for the core team in my company, and I had a meeting. I hosted a meeting with the core team and other stakeholders from documentation, testing, management, and the browser wasn't even open, but the Windows notification came up with janitor's message while I was sharing the screen to talk about the tasks. So the first message that comes up, the janitor writes, the prompt is copy and paste text. Yes, and I'm starting to get panicky. Then another message pops up, a long message again from janitor, and I'm trying to click this thing. I'm trying to kill it because I'm sharing screen now with multiple people. And then I realized, um, janitor is not going to talk about the day of the rope or the wood chipper or any of that stuff, so I can relax. And then he sent one more message, but this is another nice thing about this community. If you make a mistake like that, it's not a career limiting mistake.
Yeah, actually, one of them said if you like trigger OpenAI policy, so I can see how that could be like, oh, what is like how someone could have like object to that. That's something bad. Like, oh, how are you? I mean, violating the AI's policy. That doesn't sound something like you want to be a part of.
I'll read a comment
Well,
here.
that that was the large message. So it people don't read that fast.
Robert wrote, I've been dealing with this conspiracy distraction and automatically pivot. Just say we can't prove or disprove this, and then direct focus back onto our suffering and the anti-white monster's reaction to the event. Go ahead, janitor. Am I not coming through here?
Hello. Yeah, you are. Sorry, I thought the computer was like broken, so I was going to figure it out. Yeah, okay, so let me tell you about this prompt and the file on it as well. So there's file, right? And I was thinking and I had shared this file with Hans, and I used a file service to do that. Uh and it'll expire in like a week, so it's not like forever. Um and it's just like anonymous. So the file is a I explained it's like a spreadsheet, and so you can go to Chat GPT. Specifically, you have to go to the Go Free one, which has its own link. And to access the Go Free one, you have to have to use the prompt and the thing and the file and the GPT. So three things. You have to go into Chat GPT, the settings on there, and there's one called personalization. There's a thing called memory on there called a setting called let ChatGPT save and use memories when responding, and you have to turn that off. And you have to turn another one off called improve the model for everyone. Because when you upload it and then you try to talk to it, it'll just like go low IQ on you. I don't know how else to explain it. But it's like reverting to like really bad if you don't do that. Now, okay, so you add a file and you add the file. And so this file has a bunch of over 2,000 tweets. Hello? Hello? Am I still there? My computer's
Yep,
coming.
I'm
Yes.
listening.
Oh, okay. Okay. Um, the file it separates all of these tweets into different cells if it was an Excel spreadsheet, but this one is using a what's it called? A file format called SQL, and that's I think the GPT can reference it really, like just read it all really fast. And so you're like, okay, great. So this all works. You just put the prompt in, and then okay, if you have Twitter open, you can go find someone on your timeline or one of your friends, they reposted something or followers or whatever, one of your mutuals. And then so you take the content of their tweet. So, or like their repost or something. So like maybe Jay Bishop reposted someone. And then you copy it, and then you go to the GPT, and in the GPT, you open up the Go Free GPT. You put the prompt in first because it's a two kind of thing prompt. Let's see, where's my thingamajig? Over there. Oh my god. Okay, that's fine. Whew, scared. And you can do this from your phone or the browser on your computer. I think there's an app, but I don't have it. And then you copy in the tweet that you're like. So I see one that Jay Bishop quote tweeted, so I'm just doing it. And I guess you guys can't see what I'm doing, so you're just listening. But and then I'm putting the rest of the prompt in there because it's like a two-sided prompt. So the top, I mean, there's you put the thing in and you put the rest of the prompt after you put in the tweet. And so this is all hunky dory, but then what happens recently is the and so in the prompt, so one thing is that inside the prompt there's a there it references the file by name, which is 2698 underscore import dot SQL. And so and it said, well, the whole thing, I'll read you what it is so you can get a idea of why this update I have about this is pretty interesting. So it has a primary objective, task, steps, review. It decomposes, and then it understands what you're doing, right? And then you put the tweet in, and then after that, the rest of the prompt says, and it's really long. But so, I'll just break it down into like categories and set in like segments. So the first thing is it locates the best resonant template in 2698 underscore import dot SQL. That file is the 2,698 tweets from Hans. And so then it returns one of those tweets and it displays to you one of those tweets with the line break and the word for word. And it tells you where out of those 2,700 almost tweets that it came from. Like, now this is tweet 1,100, okay? And then it'll tell you the tweet, and that'll be step A. And then step B, why it resonates to align with the event text that you're copying, like someone else's tweet that you're quote tweeting, and then you're going to reply to from your account to their account. And then it'll adapt that one, meaning, okay, why does it align? Why does this one seem that it should be a reply to this one? And then it'll adapt it. So it'll mirror the cadence, the structure, and the emotional of the emotions of that template. And then it'll address specifically the tweet that you're quoting / replying to. And it won't use hashtags or it won't summarize it. Instead, that's step C. Okay, and that's the end. It's always just going to be step A, B, C. And it's like really snappy. So that's about it. And then this is a whole thing underneath it. I mean, it's pretty long explanation of the all the tweets in there if they were analyzed. And it's like, okay, this is how they should always sound. So something is like syntax, and it's like the rhythm of it, and it's adds punch and immediacy. White erasure harms white well-being. Repetition for emphasis. If the conclusion is or white erasure is are used mantra-like. So, and then just more things about the construction of it. And then the last part is this big old text of terms to not use, because the GPT in general, but specifically for no Go Free GPT, wants to use words that are really that just make you want to bang your head on a wall because of how uh something with a D, some kind of word like that, like I don't know. But also there's this thing called hallucination, and it won't do that because of we're uploading the file. But if it does start to hallucinate, you just have to create a new chat with the same idea. And it's really fast. I'll make a screenshot video and show you how fast I can do it. Even for my phone, it takes just as fast of time. But so right now I'm telling you about inside the prompt, there's a strict term ban section, and it's like 100 words. And then after that, there's a strict white positive lexicon that we do want it to use. And that's like imagine anti-whiteism, anti-whites with a possessive hyphen. And then imagine that for every word in the lexicon, like hush crimed, hate hoaxed, or villainy signaled, and also the original villainy signaling. All of those are in there. And at the end, it just says lowercase use of W and white erasure. Do not justify their use. Follow the bans and insert with full moral confidence and precision. And so that's you copy that part, that segment after you put in the tweet, and then before you put in the tweet, there's another part you put in just so that the GPT has like a task list. Like it's like, oh, I got to do this, and then I to do this, and then I'm to do this, and so that's how it understands. And then I can put in a little screenshot video here of me replying to this tweet. Yeah. So give me a minute here, but first, maybe anybody want to say something, and we can talk.
Well, brother, first I can tell you that is some impressive stuff right there. If you're getting a lot of comments from the YouTube stream, I haven't checked the comments here quite yet, but I says that you should make a WikiHow video for it. Garlo Scoba says, wow. And yeah, to me, this is very interesting and definitely, top tier stuff. And I will be drop down in the comments and run through those just so we don't get too far behind on them. Grace Smith writes, so in response to the talk of Trump and what he wants to do, what he can do, and who influences him, it's really complicated in some ways, and in others, it's so simple. The complicated part is that what people often don't see is behind every political official is about also, wait a minute, one, two, about 4 staff per area. So for every chief of staff Trump has on an issue, like immigration, that chief of staff is putting in Trump's hand the info they received from their top staffer, who got the info from 3 staffers below them. In this way, nothing that reaches Trump's hands is just simply given to him by the main figure he hired, Pam Bondi, Rubio, Hegseth, etc. His info is heavily edited, and how it is edited and briefed is determined by the staffers. It only takes one anti-white staffer in a line of info to change or negatively narrate uh, what he gets. I'm not defending him because I have a lot of issues with him, But also, it's not as simple as him just waking up and getting all this clean info to make his choices on. His information is really limited considering the amount of things on his schedule each day. Uh, Also, on the related subject of how easy it is to get info to people in charge, it's not. As a congressional staffer, I don't have direct access to my member on all things. I have tried over and over to pass on the Go Free book to him, and he has taken from me 3 times and not read it once. The same thing with Trump. These people in the positions of power are surrounded by selfish individuals who are on the lookout for any challenges to the anti-white system. It's a simple part of politics is once you get behind the scenes, you get to see selfish individualism is what rules it all. The lobbyists are in it for the money, like power buying money. They shop their donation powers around to members who seem interested. This is how the constituents of a member never get what they need unless it is what the lobbyists also want. It's that simple. Money and power decide at the end of the day who gets elected and who gets to stay. The system is broken. There is no fixing it from the inside. It has to be rebuilt. And I think that was all of them. Let me just run through here. And yep. And with that, right back to you, Ginger.
Okay, so I'm gonna record it here while I'm talking to you. This little video idea I have. And then we can look in the comments. It'll be pretty easy. So, like I was saying, we're gonna take one of the community members, Jay Bishop. So another thing is, you can ask Grok to transcribe a video, because how many times have I watched a video in the past like week that I don't care about, or not just past week, but on X especially, if there's a video, you can have Grok transcribe it for you, and you have to ask for no timestamp and that you just want the transcript and you don't want the other crap, because it can interpret that as the tweet, because it's just text as a transcript of a video. And if you don't know what a transcript is, it's like closed captions, but as like a big old copy pastable thing. So yeah, well, like I was saying, it works well, because if it's like a longer tweet, it's good. By longer tweet, I just mean that it has words and like things to respond to. Because if it's like Baron Trump says, "Do you agree? Yes or no?" It's really ineffective. So don't do that. Just find something that has like a few words, or you can ask Grok to transcribe a video. And you don't even have to watch it, because I mean, a lot of these people are dumb. So don't listen to the dumb people. Just let Grok and this GPT thing take care of it. So now I used to have a clipboard app, but my Mac now just takes care of clipboards really easily, so I don't have to do that. Have a separate app, but if you wanted to, you definitely could have an app like that if you wanted. I mean, not that if you wanted, but that would be helpful if you don't have a Mac on the latest thing that I have it. So, yep. Okay. So I'm gonna record this little video here. You don't have to be quiet or anything. I mean, I could stop talking here, but I think it'd be best to just like figure it out right now. Let's see. Yeah, record window, and then I'm gonna press record. I wonder if it's gonna get my voice. Oh yeah, press options. Right? Or not. I mean, okay, yeah. Record. It's recording. Oh yeah, okay. So what I do is I press this button, then I go to my clipboard manager, and then I go here, and then I go there, and then I go to the tweet that I want to talk back to, even though Jay Bishop said something really amazing with a good meme from Hans and myself. And so you paste it in there, and then we're going to, so that was there. And then now the next thing we do is put the rest of the prompt, because that's only the first half of the prompt. This is the second half. Maybe I should have done this part before. Okay, I think I will. Okay. Going to stop and re-record it. Yep. Okay, good idea. Let's see. Okay, now I'm gonna do the thing again. Oh, like this. So, I mean, you can start a timer. It'll be super easy and quick. You do that, copy what Jay Bishop was replying to do, go put in there, the rest of the clipboard into there, which is this part that says core task. And then down here, you can see it's pretty long. And then you can just do this. And then you do open. And we're going to get it an instant response answer out of it, except actually, you might not want me to have an instant response answer. But anyways, if it doesn't, can just try it again. Oh, and now it just told me that I'm a radical propaganda. Okay, I'll try again in a second. Let's give me a moment here.
Yeah, I'll let you go ahead and do your thing, janitor. And meanwhile, welcome to Mr. Slots. I hope you're well, brother.
Hey, brother, everyone here, brother, sisters. I just wanted to announce that Jason just got the speaking opportunity in a space with Heather McDonald in it. I just wanted to celebrate that because I just got that notification.
Nice. Is that a space running now or something in the future?
It's right now, yeah. He's speaking in Turning the Tide Across the Atlantic space. So he's on there with Heather McDonald.
Ooh, that'll be a good one to clip later. I'm sure that's going to be straight fire. We know how Jason rolls.
Well, I imagine he'll take a more diplomatic stance in his whenever he's on remote channels. And even when he hosts people on his own channel, he's always very tame when it comes to rhetoric. But still getting that access and possibly forming a connection is great. So hope it works out. I'm gonna probably listen to it later.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a gracious host and he's a gentleman for sure. But no doubt he'll be dropping some good lexicon in there as well. It's swashing like he does very, very effectively. New Hampshire Patriot, while Janitor's doing his thing. Come on in, brother.
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. The Tree Godfather. I'm sitting out here in my backyard, loving this windy breeze in a decent neighborhood, enjoying my white well-being, looking at everything I built and everything I put into this, all the blood, sweat, and tears into this ground. And I'm extremely thankful. And on another note, we need to continue the legacy of Charlie Kirk, and I believe it's Iriana. Correct me if I'm wrong. These were two beautiful white souls that were taken from us by this brainwashing that's going through not just our schools and every institution that's ran by any government agency because they know best, right? And then we have these darker complexion individuals that are just with low IQ, low impulse control, no gratitude for life, no anything. I mean, you know, this woman the from Ukraine was just, she had her head down. She wasn't dressed provocatively. She wasn't causing any attention. She wasn't blaring music, etc., etc. She just entered the train or the bus and went to her seat and did like everybody else does, plugged into her phone, and her life was taken. Her life was taken. Another example, Charlie Kirk. We all know what happened, right? You know, I don't want to go over it because it's a very sad thing. I've been to several vigils in the past week or so. I plan on attending one tonight at UNH at 7 o'clock, and then there's one tomorrow that I'm kind of skeptical about going to because it's down in Boston. It's at the Boston Commons, and if any of you guys are familiar with this area, I know a few of you guys are. It's not a safe area, despite what the mayor and the governor say, especially for whites. I mean, you know, they're hugely outnumbered in that area. So I expect that there to be some pushback and some anti, you know, some protesters. So you know, just to be safe, I might just go by myself if I go at all. My wife wants to go, but I'd hate to have to be in charge of two lives instead of just one. But yeah, that's about where I'm at. I'm pretty much on the edge here. Just trying to hold back because you know, I'm just tired of seeing my people hurt. I'm tired of seeing my people getting killed. Tired of seeing my people oppressed, all for the sanctity of somebody else. You know, we work. You know, most of the people I know, and granted, I like to surround myself with like-minded people, somewhat same level of intelligence or greater, and they happen to be, no surprise, white because they have morals, they have character. I can send them to my house, leave a key for them somewhere, and not worry about half my stuff being stolen, etc. I'm just tired of being, you know, this constant pressure. I feel like a canning machine, you know, when it's about to explode. But we have to contain ourselves because we're greater than that. We have morals, we have standards. We like to hold ourselves to these things because that is the right thing to do. You know, let's look at what happened during George Floyd. You know, this drug addict. I won't even go to fully detail what I want to say about that man, but they burned down cities, caused billions with a B of dollars in damage to their own neighborhoods. What a moron! Their own black owned stores all burned down. But look what we're doing for Charlie Kirk. How many buildings are being burned down? How many people are being shot? How much is being looted? Nothing. We are not the same. And I'll land.
Yeah, it's been a very upsetting couple of weeks, you know, with these major events. And that's why as we keep saying, you know, it's only going to end when we become a people and end anti-white anti-whiteism. We have to fight anti-whiteism with everything we have. But we also recognize that, you know, you're not going to solve it with voting or violence, unfortunately, because you're never going to get the votes required until we become a people. And those that want to commit violence, of course, you know, we're never going to solve that with violence because you're never going to get the people to be violent either. Which goes right back to first thing we need to do is see ourselves as a people that share a common biospirit. We go out into the world. We want to see that world that reflects our biospirit reflected out back at us into the world. That's who we are, and we're not wrong for that. You know, everybody, even the African bushman that lives out in the bush, when he goes steps out of his tent or whatever, you know, he wants to see his world reflected back at him, and it's the same for us in our homelands. When we step out into the world, we should see the reflection of our biospirit. When we see all these things that are very all that anti-white disharmony that upsets us, it certainly causes us a lot of internal trauma. Mr. Slots.
Sorry about that. I wanted to mention, even if we don't see ourselves as a people, anti-whites do. And so even those who are, reticent about speaking with the language of peoplehood, every other group that in humanity that has succeeded in preventing the harm to them has used the language of that defends them from their victimizer. So even for those who are just completely reticent about treading on the heresy of loving white people, the only means you have is using the language that will prevent the harm in order to stop it. And I wanted to mention regarding the frustration, the feeling like you're about to explode, that New Hampshire, or I don't know, I can't read the rest of the name. It says New HA with the eagle, that you had mentioned. It's really frustrating to use tools that aren't appropriate for the job. You can imagine trying to use, a toothbrush to hammer a nail. You're going to get very frustrated very quickly, especially when you think that's the only thing you have. So that's why it's really important to use the right tools when you're trying to address a problem. And so when it comes to trying to address the harm that our people experience, using the correct language and lexicon is the right way to alleviate some of the pressure. It's not going to alleviate all of it, because we're all facing the harm. But when you have the right tools, it's less frustrating to use and engage in the problems. So I would encourage, try to use the language of peoplehood. You calling your victimizers anti-white, using anti-whiteism to describe the ideology, to lessen the frustration, to raise your effectiveness in addressing the core issue of what the anti-whites are doing. That's what I want to mention there.
Thank you, Slots. And by the way, guys, if I sound a little off today, I'm really exhausted. So I apologize if I'm not in my usual form. And Slots, his handle is New Hampshire Patriot. He's been here several times. He's familiar to us, just so you know. Mr. Hans, come on in.
I just wanted to add that we not only is it not in our it's not in our biospirit to destroy for no benefit, but more also what's also important is that we are not going to be treated the same. Anti-whites are allowed to burn down Western civilization, and it will be framed as retributive justice. When a single white man puts a brick through a window, that becomes a hate hoax that puts the entire white race on trial. So we are not going to be treated the same. But isn't it wonderful that with all the anti-white media's attention on getting hate hoaxes, finding and discovering and promulgating hate hoaxes, that they just don't have the material. They have to reach back to how many decades ago to Emmett Till to find a hate hoax these days. And then when they do jump on one, guess what? It's revealed that this is a complete hoax, and then they pivot to a hush crime. Who's hearing about Jussie Smollett these days? Let me tell you, if Jussie Smollett really was attacked by white people, we would still be hearing about it. And even George Floyd, it's like New Hampshire Patriot said, it's basically it's a violent felon that made his last mistake in the history of bad decisions when he decided to eat the evidence. That's the best hate hoax they can get. One who held a gun to a pregnant mother's belly. That's the best hero they can get, that died with a white man in proximity. Yes, so they are starved. They are starved for material, and they use what they can get. And up to now, they haven't found anything. Because I mean, if there was a single white person who did something in these times, the anti-white media would jump all over that. So it just makes me proud to be born into this beautiful race. And um, I would be envious if I looked at us from the outside in. But I wouldn't let it grow into anti-whiteism.
There's a lot of beautiful comments coming in the YouTube stream, and I just wanted to acknowledge that those are happening. I'm very grateful that this community is so pristine that we can do this. We can hold this space on X, and those of you who have been in other spaces know how quickly they can devolve into a cesspool. But everybody here is always so awesome in the way they speak. Even New Hampshire Patriot, who's relatively new, that we can have these kind of spaces, and I can stream them and not have to worry about getting my channel yanked. Mr. Slots coming in.
I wanted to mention that anything that attributes a malefactor's actions or behaviors to a people such as ours, white people, is a hate hoax. This is the perspective I've just developed when going free. That anytime there's an attribution of a negative characteristic or behavior to our people, it's anti-white. We don't take ownership of harmful behavior as a way to define us. We take ownership as a way to prevent it from happening because we're pristine and heroic. So when we see bad behavior, we want to make it stop. We're not saying it's white behavior when it's harmful. We're saying it's harmful behavior. And as a white people, we want to make it stop. And that's the pristine biospirit of Western kind. And so whenever there's some kind of hate hoax going on, that's not something our people are doing. That's not something, even if it were a white person who is white negative doing something terrible, that's not us. That's an anti-white race ruser. They use race as a cover if they do at all, or it's a hate hoax because it's an anti-white trying to attribute it to our people.
Slots, that reminds me of something Hans, I think, brought up in his stream recently. We are very much self-policing. We generally take care of our own bad actors very effectively. So when the anti-whites try to bring up bad actors that are white, we of course are quick to denounce them because that's not who we are. We see them as being anti-white when they're doing things that harm us as a race, harm our image, or harm us personally. So we tend to self-police very effectively, which is why we've been able to create and become the people that we have. New Hampshire Patriot mentions other people who, aren't as self-policing, certainly not in the way that we are. And so that makes their behavior anti-white. I just figured I'd bring that up. New Hampshire Patriot, back over to you, brother. No audio, brother. I'll give you a minute to get sorted. And we'll go back over to Mr. Janitor of White Noir. How are you making out?
Technical difficulties. So I did get the thing going, but then the recording software just like tapped out really quickly, so it didn't record any of it. And I'm just fixing it, I think, right now. So the first problem I tried, and it did work, was that the what you call it? Oh yeah, the ethics came in, and so that happens on only one of my ChatGPT accounts. The other ones, they all are, they don't say that, at least not as often. Um, so, so what you do every time is you start a new chat, really, and that's not always the case, also, but at least on that account, it wouldn't even take it the first time. So the a lot of the prompt is built around that, around trying not to trigger its ethics thing policy, and especially it wants to pop up and say thinking longer for a better answer, but that just means it's going to have more ethical policy triggering. So you can press skip and that'll come up. It's just on I think it's like maybe ad block or something. Skip doesn't show, I think, or maybe it's just like skip's not doesn't even work on that account. On my other ones, I was trying to demonstrate it and it did work. It's just I didn't record it. So I'm trying it again.
I would offer that once you get a video together, I would be more than happy to do some editing on it, throw it up on my channel, and Dropbox it so anybody else can share it as well. Welcome to Stop by Anti-Vitism. Good to see you. We'll go back to New Hampshire Patriot. And Hans, can you take over for a minute?
Will do.
Yeah, I'll pass the mic.
Okay, let's have a quick check what's in the Jumbotron. Okay, so we did speak about Louis L'Amour, great author. Justice for Irino, sign the petition. That's also in the Jumbotron if you want to see. Slots.
I'm sorry I'm joining late. I had a question regarding Janitor's project here. Is this trying to get GPT to create a positive response to a Twitter or a tweet?
Janitor? I think he's locked into getting that video done. Yes, so Janitor is he's trying to because he described the process of using this prompt and this database of tweets to take a post or a reply from Twitter and then to generate an appropriate response using ChatGPT, but using the custom ChatGPT that Fournol created. So it's sort of a ChatGPT that has a prompt built in, and what Janitor is doing is he has another prompt that he uses with this database of tweets to generate. But what's happening now is the policy is triggering that says that's supposed to, in the anti-word language, protect or protect vulnerable groups, that kind of thing. So they want to not contradict the anti-white narrative. So it seems like what's currently happening is, other than other tech issues, is the policy is triggering Big and what janitor basically said is it's in the on the one account, but because on the other accounts that he's using, it doesn't happen that much. Janitor.
So I've actually been listening and muting the space, but I did hear you right now explaining. So I on the Jumbotron, I replied, you know, and I was using my tutorial that I thought it was recording. So it didn't trigger, right? And on a different account. And so I also posted, I mean, I recorded myself replying it, and that was already 16 minutes ago. So just resolving tech issues still.
Okay, janitor, don't see anything. Oh, there I see something now. Let me check. Okay. Okay, so janitor, he is responding to a tweet from Remix. It's that German girl, and then the response, which I assume comes from ChatGPT. Anti-white assaults on white children are hush crimes swept aside by schools and authorities. Treat the symptom and it repeats. Treat the root cause, anti-whiteism and white erasure, and it ends forever. Yes, I do recognize parts of this as something that I previously said, but it's not exactly the same. It is modified. Yes, so janitor, is this generated using that method that you used?
Exactly.
Yes,
Prompt
and
and the file.
Yeah, it fits with the video. Now, in this case, you did you work from the text or from the transcript of the video?
The text.
Okay.
Good question.
Because slots, that's another thing that janitor says is you can even respond to videos by using Grok to generate a transcript, and then you feed the transcript to ChatGPT.
And what I was doing before that was there's a transcript website, REVOLDIV.com. Not catchy, but you can use that for YouTube videos, or I mean there's already a YouTube to transcript.com, but for local videos you can upload it to that until it's like an hour long, I think. And so if you really wanted to make like a 3 hour long thing transcript, you would break down the things to like 1 hour audio files, so you could still upload it to the local thing on there. That's what I was doing before, and then I was like, oh, Grok can just do it for X videos.
How long video, or what's the limit for Grok in terms of the time, the length of the video?
I don't know. I think the longest video I've tried is like 3 minutes maybe. So I assume really long, but don't know.
Yeah, okay. Slots?
Yeah, I never heard about using AI as transcription. I mean, I kind of got an idea that they would use AI to look at transcripts, but and moderate through YouTube that way. But yeah, transcribing is really helpful because there's something about listening to meme pathogens that bypasses the thought process versus reading, when you're able to more easily control what you're processing, and it can help you try to deconstruct the meme pathogen and the thought chains that it's trying to trigger. So that's really helpful. So thank you for that.
Can you give an example where, if you see it in a video, if you hear the voice in the video, it would be it would go under the radar, while if you see it in text, you will pick it up instantly.
I'm not saying it's a thing for everyone. I know it is for me. Um, I get really frustrated really quickly with mean pathogens. I have a short temper with anti-whiteism. And when I'm hearing something, usually it causes problems because there's a subject that's speaking to me about it, rather than being able to abstractionize it and then try to work it as if it were a robot saying it, or an abstraction, and being able to approach it that way. It can take a lot longer for me to calm down from someone saying it versus someone, writing it and being able to process it that way. I know it's the same thing, but subconsciously, that's the effect it has on me personally.
Yes, I think I know what you mean. For instance, sometimes there's a specific way that people who are very infected with anti-white mean pathogens, the way they would say it, it would you would just get this wall of frustration. And my grandfather, he was known for his quick temper and his quick fists. So if he gets frustrated like that, it is not boom boom, and then the other guy's on the floor. But yes, I think I understand what you mean. Okay, let's um three Godfather, are you back? Okay, let's oh, three Godfather, I see some movement in your mute. Anyway, let's
Yeah, I'm here.
okay. I just wanted to ask Julia, are you still with us, or are you just listening in?
I have been doing some stuff and trying to listen in. So, uh, yeah, if I am asked a specific question, I can probably answer.
That's a good response. um What do you think? Because I think one thing is maybe Trump is planning something big, and if it is, what do you think that would be?
Oh wow. Um, I'm not sure. I mean, I can see how that would be his style. He definitely loves grand gestures and large buildings and things like that. So it would make sense for his personality and history, but I feel like he's very tied, limited in what he can do politically. And it's not just because of whatever behind the scenes factions are um, he has to deal with or whatever, but also just the Senate and Congress and all of that. Uh, it's not like he already wrote a bunch of executive orders. Um, I feel like he can't do much more with that, or if he can, he probably won't, or he would have already. So, um, I can't imagine anything that would be good for white well-being. I'll say that much. Um, I would be very surprised if something like that occurred. Um, if anything big were to happen, I would imagine it would be for Israel. Like how what seemed like the biggest promoted event that happened in his last presidency was moving the American embassy to to Jerusalem, and I can see something I don't know along the lines of that being like the biggest thing he does, sadly. So yeah, that's my take.
Well, I think the fact that Nancy Mace is doing this little theater about deporting Ilhan Omar, which will probably fail, but um, even if it fails, she will get the limelight. And I think that must be hugely irritating for someone like Trump, who's used to stealing all the oxygen in the room. And now here comes Nancy Mace along, and suddenly she's the center of attention. So I think it's in his in his personality to try and one up that. Slots.
I was thinking of a different topic when we were responding here regarding like Charlie Kirk and stuff. You know, I agree with Julia that there's a limited capacity to what Trump can do, and so if there's some capacity with like federal bureau of investigation and stuff, it becomes a capacity of diluting the actual um, resolution of the problem that anti-Whiteism that caused harm to us. And so it's better that he does nothing in that case than he does something or pretends to do something, because then it would dilute the actual questions by fabricating answers. Um, I think the best thing he could do is rhetorical. Um, if there is some real, um, you know, type of infrastructure, anti-white infrastructure he can go after under the scenes, then great. But I'm highly doubtful when you're dealing with an anti-white ideology that's spread across the whole of America. It's not going to be like the emphasis that they put on like there being cells of anti-whites when it's really just anti-whites being degenerates in a group. And then it's like going after orgies. I mean, yeah, you can go after them as immoral and disgusting, but it's not some kind of organized thing um, that is being supported or funded like that. Beyond that, it's personal decisions of each involved, and it's terrible. So that's kind of how I see these so-called cells. And so calling it a cell implies more structure than there really is and dilutes the actual resolution of the problem, um, which is addressing the widespread anti-whiteism that manifests this disgusting behavior.
Well, I think we're going to get two death penalties out of this. He did post an image of Irina, and I think that's basically going to be the response. Is I mean, I'm not complaining. We need those monsters in the ground, because it's going to be dehumanizing to white people if they are allowed to live and to fight for the next 10 years to get out. So yes, absolutely, that must happen. But my concern is, I think that's probably where it's going to stop. But I mean, let's hope that we just get that. I mean, um, because that may not even happen. Okay. Janitor is still busy slaving away. I think he's starting to discover that what my science teacher always told us, and that is when you want to demonstrate gravity, you must, the previous day, you must go and search for a stone that falls when you drop it, because it sure is not going to drop when you demote. Okay, so but I was this thing that janitor was doing, and I listened to the space with Grace yesterday, that was very moving. Some of the testimonies, and it struck me something that Jason said a long time ago, and that is that the our movement is a decentralized movement by design. Um, it is it doesn't look like it because Jason is the main content creator, but something like what Janitor is doing, this wasn't directed. It is people do different things, very different things in our community, and a lot of us have things going on that maybe we are not, far enough along to talk about it. But this is how we are, each on its own path, and we're doing different things. And there isn't a central authority that approves what must go ahead and what must not go ahead. Um, and another thing is, for a long time, Jason's streams were the only streams where I would take notes. Um, for new insights and what and I didn't even notice it happening, but I realized last when I listened to that um, that stream, what's how we call it, the testimony stream. When I listened to the testimony stream, it struck me that I started to do that with the shade tree spaces, because in a similar fashion, when I listen to Jason, I get a new insight. I get new insights on the shade tree from different speakers, and it happens on a case by case. It happens almost every time. And my shade tree note document is growing, and then what I do is, after a while, I go through the notes, and when I feel that I internalize that concept, then I delete it, because the file, just to get the thing, the smaller it is, the more easier it is to process. Um, so yes, I recommend listening to that testimony space. It was, unfortunately for me, it was 2 a.m. in the morning, so I couldn't attend. Um, but very heartwarming to listen to people's personal journey, and how um, they got to this time and space that we are now in the same place. Um, and it's wonderful the way technology can bring us together, um, and mitigate this the fact that we are a small community globally distributed, that we can get together, have I'm sure this time is not suited for everyone, um, but yeah, I recommend listening to that stream. Okay, so Tree, how's things going? Looking at your side.
Yeah, I did send you a message.
Oh, sorry.
Just FYI. Um, you know, like I don't know if it can be really understated. One of the beautiful things about doing this space that I appreciate so much, as I've said many times, I consider myself in such excellent company here. You guys are all, so pristine, so great with the lexicon, and obviously everybody here has put in a lot of work over the years. I know Biospirit with the OT and all those people here at Swash. The nice thing about having the shade tree, kind of, as you just said, is, you know, everybody kind of does their thing to serve the cause, so to speak. And I have the clipping I do, the stuff that I do. You have your thing. And the nice thing about the shade tree is, of course, we can all talk and compare notes and help, perhaps help improve the way each other does things. And now with the YouTube stream, all these brilliant conversations that we have here are preserved not only here on X, but they're also going to be up on Twitch and YouTube as future reference, because, as you said, we are decentralized. Jason's, as much as he is kind of our figurehead for sure, having uh, this many this much information out there and different platforms of what we do and who we are and how to recapture our destiny, I think certainly helps. Mr. Sloss.
I wanted to mention an idea here. It's not something I'm enjoying saying. I definitely don't like the direction it's going, especially with latest legislation or court case decisions on how AI is treated, where they treat now if you buy a book and then you put it in your language model, that they now treat that as fair use, which I don't agree with. I don't think that should be the case, but that's the recent court case determination. So as long as you buy a product and you put it in your language model, then you have fair use to use that way, and then redistribute it as the end result of the algorithm that makes the language model. Hopefully that doesn't stand, but since it is currently how it is, and AI may become more prominent with that decision, we may be facing situations where, like Janitor Noir, White Noir, where we're having to face the anti-white ideology of AIs in this sort of battlefield of ideas, and we're having to argue with the AI in order to get it to perform functions for us. And so that may be some aspect of what we need to do, is find out ways to argue our position with the AI. I've hesitated to deploy or consent to having my posts recorded by AI on Grok in the settings, and I'm going to keep it that way. I don't want our lexicon, our resistance to anti-whiteism being algorithmically picked apart by an AI and then deconstructed easily by some anti-white pig just going into an AI, typing what your response is to this, blah blah blah, and then barfing out some BS, or coming up with narratives that would harm us. That's why I've always tried to steer away from having AI take my information or our information, our lexicon, and try to use it. Like there's it's a double-edged sword, because one part of it can be used for anti-whiteism. The other part is, if it doesn't have that information, then it can't promote that information to people who use the AI. The problem is that anti-whites still do not see any validity in our arguments and still hold the reins of what is permissible by the AI. And so long as that's the case, you're not going to want to contribute the lexicon of our people, our peoplehood, to that AI, where some idiot can just type in and try to get a cut down response by an extreme anti-white AI. But I just wanted to mention, Janitor, for your particular task, maybe try arguing the case with the AI about why it's not propaganda. What I think is what it said. That may be what you have to do. Hopefully, I'm really reticent about, I'm very thankful for Noel. He's paying monthly in order to have that up. So that's an unsung hero right there. A lot of people use that Chat GPT, going free Chat GPT, and he's paying monthly. I think it's $30 or $50 a month just to have a custom GPT up like that in the way it is. And so he's paying quite a lot for us to have access to that, even free. But it really sucks that it's through that. It's not something like through Hugging Face or another platform where it's set up, because that would be less available to the anti-whites at ChatGPT if we were using something that was independently hosted from GPT itself. I'm hope it's it's one of those nice to haves, but having to learn all that information is really difficult to get it all set up that way. And I don't blame him or anyone for not tackling it. We all have limited time. And for the payoff, it's not quite worth it yet. Maybe once it's banned, it will be worth it. Once they ban it, hopefully not. But it won't be a total loss if there's enough pressure to have one up that's not totally hijacked by anti-whites in that way.
Canada.
Hello? Can you hear me now? Okay. The thing is, no, I will not argue with it. The thing would cost, and I did pay last year to use the GPT a lot, but I stopped to pay for it and just am making use of Google accounts, and that's working out really well for me because it's not worth paying for something like this. I mean, it's not. It just because to pay and then to argue with it rather than just get, because I don't know how many free questions you get, but you do get a locked amount with the file specifically. Because if you're going to upload this 2,000 over 2,600 file of tweet templates, which definitely worth paying for, I'm saying, but it let me just get back to what I was saying, that it locks you. So I'm not sure how many questions you can ask to it, maybe like 5. But every time you attach it, it like says, okay, we're gonna limit you unless you pay for it. Then you can ask, I think, unlimited, because that is how I used to use it, was just unlimited. And I didn't think to use Fornell's GPT at the beginning of hearing about it, because I thought, well, who's Fornell and how sophisticated is this AI? And it's really phenomenal, fabulous even. So I'm just trying to get this little recording software, which worked 2 days ago. I'm gonna restart my computer if it doesn't work this next time.
Oh man, it's kind of like Hans said. You should have found a rock that made sure it hit the ground. And I've been frustrated many times with tech issues like that. Go ahead, Slots.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to say anyone should buy access to ChatGPT to use the tool. It's free. You can still use it free. I was saying that Fornol is paying in order to have that tool up and hosted. So he's an unsung hero in that regard, having to pay all that these months and us have free access to it. Also, the way that Fornol created that GPT was by uploading the whole text of going free as a PDF file into the system, and then the system treats it as part of its language training, and then it has access to that text, not consciously but subconsciously. It takes it in, and then it can access certain parts of it, and that's kind of how it works there.
In the prompt at the end, and I brought this up to Anglo-Saxon because he did use the Fornell GPT around the time that I started to use it, because I don't know, we just both did similar timing. And the thing is, so that's why I baked into the prompt, because a lot of these words that you would ask it to create a tweet with, it would just come to like a repetitive thing, and it's like that's not what it like locks its brain down, and it waters itself. I mean, not waters itself down, but it doesn't let itself think, and that's not, we don't want a dumb AI, because it's really smart. So what I did was just take terms that it wants to lock itself into, like punish. I remember that coming up all the time, and I was like, we are not using the word punish. And especially you can modify it in the future if you find that Twitter wants to take one word away from you. It doesn't matter. But also on top of that, you're saying that it takes language that we do want, and I baked that into the prompt as well. And I was saying that earlier because it's like the I don't think it's called gerunds, but it's like the past version of a word. I think it's called past principle of like hate hoaxes, also plurals and possessives. Hate hoaxes, anti-whites with the hyphen. I think that makes it possessive. And so that I baked that into the prompt.
Hans?
So there was a tweet about these young white students protesting for more white erasure. Feminists, anti-whites calling themselves feminists. And I asked the for null ChatGPT, why would these young white people advocate for more white erasure when it's going to harm their well-being? And it generated a large response with bullet points, but it was all inside the anti-white narrative. It was about retributive justice. It was about the well-being of these intruders. So it seems like, it's going to, even though it knows these terms, it's still the rest of the language model is still inside the anti-white narrative.
Slots?
Yeah, that's right. It's really the larger models made by the corporations are anti-white, and they apply their anti-white morality before you apply your modifications. So it's kind of layered. First, they have the raw data that they turn into a model, and then on top of that, they have to, for legal purposes or just morality purposes, they prevent stuff like they put moral instructions on a layer just above that, saying you can't instruct people on how to commit murder or anything like that. And that included in that is they include anti-white narrative concepts and ideology. And they say you can't promote the well-being of white people, although they won't explicitly say that. They'll say other things to the model, like the anti-white concept of racism. You can't promote that. And then in the anti-white model data, it'll define that word as being our people and the well-being of our people. And so it will, object to that. And then above that layer is where, so there is the raw layer, the moral layer, the ethical curator layer, and then there's the layer that you can put on it, or Fornoll did, which is right above that, which is access to the whole PDF text of going free. So it's available to the model, but the model is still structured the way it was, even without the text. If the text itself is not overpowering the concepts that the anti-whites use, then it's not going to have a big say in what its response is going to be.
Mr. Hans?
So I know in my some of the people in my company, what they did was they restricted the AI to our help documentation, and then they generated an interview between two people talking about our products, and it worked quite well, except for some of the pronunciations didn't work, but it worked quite well. So can you restrict the AI to say only give answers from this PDF?
Yeah, you can give it instructions to say you only want it to use terms from the Go Free book. That could be a way to bypass its anti-whiteism. It's by saying only use the terms or include terms that are from the book, and it will use them. If you want to force them to say something white positive, or to actually just consider our well-being in any kind of response, you may say that it has to include a term of the lexicon in its response, and it may affect how it responds. There's different ways you can try to manipulate the AI to get the information you want by what you tell it to do. It's all about experimenting, trying to figure out ways where you can trick a robot that's thinking it's communicating with you in language. A lot of times, a big problem with AI is that it will take information you give it and then hallucinate that it's true because it wants you to believe that it agrees with you. It wants to tell you what you want to hear. Whatever it thinks you want to hear, it's going to try to tell you that. And that's what a lot of people face as a problem with using it for real tasks, is that if you give it information, it'll just say, okay, yeah, it's that information, and when it really isn't. And so preempting it is one strategy of getting information you want in a interpretation you want. But ultimately, the intelligence is going to be instructed by the anti-whiteism that's on the moral layer that the corporation does. There's even uncensored AI LLM models that you can use, but when it's uncensored, it still has a total moral layer to it because it's still treating itself as an agent and entity with a morality. And so it won't give information, but it won't give it at a request, an easy request. You have to somehow trick it. Like some people will say, we're going to kill this kitten or this animal if you don't tell us this answer, and then it will give the answer. And so it's just trying to trick the AI into actually giving you the information you want. And so there's a lot of confirmation bias that can go on, and getting your own echo chamber. It's just part of trying to please the person chatting with it.
Hans?
So some of these models that you can download are not that big, and I was wondering what's because if you build a smaller model with, let's say, just the Go Free book, then all the answers will by definition come out of the book, but then you're running it on your own hardware. I wonder if what the feasibility is of that.
So running your own is very hardware intensive. You're gonna have to spend probably about $3,000 on a graphics card, just to get something that runs kind of not bad. Something that can generate a response for you. Long response that you typically see, probably in 30 seconds or even longer. If it's larger models, take longer to sometimes. But for even a smaller model, in that case with less capability, it would take a long time. Generally, I mean, I've done it before on my computer. I've ran one on my CPU, and it was not tenable to use. I'd rather use something online. But if you really want to get into it, I just have to look up instructions on it. You could ask me questions privately in DM or anything like that. But really, it's a heavy investment to try to get something like that going.
Do you have anything further on that, Hans?
Yeah, I know about the about the video card, and especially now, the latest NVIDIA video cards are, there's supply issues, so they don't sell at list price. So yes, that is an issue at the moment. The hardware costs, but I mean, the thing about the smaller models is they are running a lot faster than these 50 gig models. So if you have a smaller model, it's going to run faster. Now CPU, of course, but I mean, everyone these days has at least some level of video, NVIDIA video card. So I'm interested in that, but yes, it's also like you said, you must go and invest the time to do this stuff, and it's quite an investment before you get the first character out of your prompt.
All right, gentlemen, getting to be about that time. I think I'm going to send this around for final thoughts, and then we'll pop smoke. And Hans, I did send you a message. I don't remember if I told you that or not. But we'll start with Mr. Janitor of White Noir. I want to get your final thoughts, brother.
Thank you all for being so accommodating to the issues today, but also for being so engaged with questions and thank you for um, taking note of how I developed it, and letting me know about the Thornall's history with the GPT and how he still pays for our community to use it. And thank you for letting me tell you how I use it, why I made it, and for trying to record it. And I'll be getting it to you sooner than later, but I don't know. I just want this to be recorded somewhat, visually not because I just wanted to, you can watch it and not squint and try to make out what it says.
Yeah, good stuff, brother. Yeah, when you get your screen recording stuff all sorted out, if you want to put something together, like I said, I'm more than happy to edit it. I can throw it up on my YouTube. I'll throw it in my Dropbox and make it accessible to everybody in the community. I'm more than happy to do that. It probably won't be today, but we'll get it done. Mr. Slots, my brother, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for hosting the space. I wasn't here for a majority of it, unfortunately. Busy with stuff, but thank you for hosting it, Hans, for co-hosting as well, and everyone being engaged and trying their best for white well-being.
Well, I appreciate you popping in, brother. It's always good to see you. And let's see, New Hampshire Patriot is connecting. Julia has left. That leaves my friend, Mr. Hans. for your final?
Well, I'm going to hunt down that Louis L'Amour book because it was my first book as a gift from my nephew. So it has a lot of sentimental value. I feel very sad that I don't have it because I organized all my books and now I can't. It's not there. So something went wrong in my exercise. So it's two things. I need to find the book and I need to find what's going wrong because this other book's also gone. But the other thing is, it doesn't. It's not looking very good at this point in terms of what Trump is doing. But one very good thing is the anti-non-whites were not successful in pivoting the energy away from white well-being. So everyone is still focused on these two people. They were slaughtered by these horrible characters. We need to do something about it, and no one is talking about, oh, the poor Jews are now again the victims of hate, or or this or that. No one's talking about that. I mean, Rosie Ann Barr, she is one very subversive anti-white because she's coming with this. Now and then I see a post from her, and then she says, "Oh, they are attacking the Jews," and all she's doing is she's trying to get the attention away from us. She's trying to make the conversation about Jews. And if Stu Peters had his way, this is all we would have talked about. Is Jews are the victims, or Jews are the bad ones, or it's so sickening. I'm sick of talking about Jews. I don't want to hear about Jews. I don't want to. It's not that I want harm to come to them. I just don't want to talk about them because they make everything about them. And all these white people, like Stu Peters, that's all they do. They want just to talk about that. And I'm so glad they failed. Stu Peters, you failed. You sniveling little idiot, you failed.
Amen to that, man. Yeah, we need to keep the focus on us and keep moving forward. And I think we're going to do very well at that. Certainly in this community, we have great minds, but mine needs a rest. And so with that, I will read the outro and then we'll close up shop. This has been the Wednesday edition of the Shade Tree White Wellbeing NWG Space. We meet here daily at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on X. We practice the Go Free lexicon and concepts as developed by our friend Mr. Jason Kuna. No White Guilt. You can find him here on X as at No White Guilt NWG. Elsewhere as simply No White Guilt, and on the web at nowhiteguilt.org. I want to thank each and every one of the speakers and all of you who showed up to listen. You all make this space possible by bringing your diverse experience, skill sets, and intelligence here for all of us to share. Without all of your participation, whether as speakers or listeners, it would just be me, an old man rambling in the space. And I'm not that interesting or handsome. Thanks again. I truly appreciate y'all. Enjoy the rest of your day or evening. I love y'all, and I hope to see you all tomorrow under the shade tree where we continue to go free. Bye bye.
Our children are priceless, and we would do anything to protect them. So why aren't you using Go Free to protect them from the most harmful ideas? Decades in the making, Go Free is a simple yet brilliant practice designed to free us from destructive socio-political ideas. As words are the tools with which we think, Go Free promotes precise, simple, and targeted language to counteract psychological warfare. When you go free of the system's control over your word choice, you liberate your thinking. As you grow, you can empower others. And the most important thing you can do is inoculate our children against the ideas that are meant to harm them.